Ghostbusters fans have wanted a good game for a long time. After demo footage leaked of an independent project, fans were immediately elated at the possibility of the franchise being reborn in game form. Seeing this excitement, Terminal Reality grabbed the rights and started building a Ghostbusters game that fans could get thrilled about. The joy slipped away as it slowly became apparent that not all was well in development, and the game was bounced around before finally being released on all platforms. Was there actually a reason for all the turmoil leading up to its release, or has Terminal Reality finally lived up to the challenge at creating a game fans have been waiting 20 years for?
I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Are you troubled by strange noises in the night?
Do you experience feelings of dread in your basement or attic?
Have you or your family actually seen a spook, specter, or ghost?
The story is set in 1991, just 2 years after the events of Ghostbusters 2. Since then, a new Ghostbuster-friendly mayor has been elected into office, making it much easier to be in the poltergeist hunting business. After a strange paranormal event resurrects Gozer, the city is once again filled with all varieties of ghosts, and it's up to Dr. Peter Venkman, Dr. Raymond Stantz, Dr. Egon Spengler, and Winston Zeddemore to save the day. Players don't actually control any of the 4 main characters, though, and instead play as the new recruit. The unnamed, unvoiced protagonist is hired as an experimental weapons technician, tasked with giving all of Egon's inventions some field time before being used by any of the heroes. In the 8 or so hour campaign, the Ghostbusters will travel to several locations, some new and some very familiar, while attempting to find out what was behind the paranormal incident. Thanks to the writing of Aykroyd and Ramis, the story's dialogue is stellar, and the narrative really feels like a third Ghostbusters movie.
Say, is that him?
It's hard to miss.
Getting the most obvious pun out of the way right away, bustin' certainly feels good. In fact, it likely couldn't have been done much better. Using the proton beam, players weaken ghosts by keeping a steady stream on their incorporeal bodies before attempting to slam them into the ground and catch them into a trap. This might sound like it could get repetitive, but actually capturing ghosts never does, partially because it's not the only thing you do in the game.
Check that out.
Being the experimental weapons technician means, among other things, that the character has access to more than the proton pack. By the end of the game, the rookie has 4 weapons, all of which will be called upon at different points. These have many uses, including adding puzzle elements to the game beyond simply blowing things up with the proton stream. Scanning a ghost brings up a description, revealing their weakness, giving different ways to fight different opponents. Some spirits come in corporeal form, and don't need to be captured, breaking up what would be monotonous ghost hunting. The occasional boss battle also helps keep things fresh, adding more epic battles to the levels. This means, when the occasion to simply kick back and wrangle a ghost with the rest of the team using a proton beam is offered, it's much more rewarding. Well, when it works. Teammate AI is usually fairly effective, but will occasionally dip as they refuse to resurrect their fallen allies or get stuck on objects. It's also hard to shake the feeling that the new guy is carrying the vets, since their aim is often off, and their proton packs don't seem to pack the punch that the recruits does. Thankfully, it's never too much of an issue, and it's usually a nostalgic dream come true.
Mind the paper cuts!
There's a large amount of polish in Ghostbusters, even if it isn't the best looking game on the system. The characters and ghosts all look convincing, and it definitely feels like it's set in a very haunted 1991. From time to time, it seems as though the game's engine doesn't really live up to expectations, and the physics can feel a bit inconsistent. There are times when the proton stream rips apart a room exactly like every 12-year-old hoped it would, and others when objects are mysteriously immovable or indestructible. It doesn't get in the way of the gameplay, but it's an occasional distraction that shouldn't have made the final version. Even so, Ghostbusters looks and sounds good, and Terminal Reality has done an admirable job at giving the game the feel of the movies. Even the somewhat lengthy loading times are completely hidden underneath cutscenes, enhancing the cinematic experience dramatically. Hearing Bill Murray recite new audio for Venkman is wonderful, and while it's obvious they aren't as young as they used to be, there's never a time where it feels strained.
3 guys, the size of your finger, knocked you off the side of a 30-story building, and you had to climb all the way back up to tear them apart. How mad would you be at those 3 little dinky types?
I'd go with mighty pissed.
Regardless, they're the Ghostbusters, just where we left them in the late 80s. Having the original cast back for the game really sells it as a Ghostbusters experience. The omission of Dana and Lewis isn't entirely made up for with the inclusion of Alyssa Milano, voicing Dr. Elissa Selwyn, but it shows exactly how far they were willing to go to make up for it. The largest issue comes with the presence of the new guy, which always feels a bit off. His silence is awkward, especially when he's surrounded by a non-stop barrage of comedic one-liners, and it's always strange when he has to pantomime towards something instead of just speaking. There's really no reason the player just doesn't talk or, more appropriately, isn't just in control of one of the Ghostbusters, even if it means switching point of view from time to time. That said, there are a few times where the rookie isn't surrounded by famous faces, and the game is filled with fantastic jokes that should leave gamers in stitches.
No! I want the Ghostbusters ejected from this facility immediately!
Where's his honor, Pecker? We've got news for him and a photo op.
The only area of the game where players are actually able to play as the Ghostbusters is in the multiplayer, giving the opportunity to finally live the dream and bust ghosts with any of the 4 protagonists. It's bittersweet, however, since they're mostly silent, as the game doesn't offer cooperative play of the actual campaign. Because of this, the feature represents the game's biggest missed opportunity. The different modes are entertaining enough in their own right, but the lack of true co-op of the story is unforgivable. And it's really surprising that the game wasn't built from the ground up to support online cooperative play. It's still a good bit of fun to wrestle ghosts into traps while defending artifacts or competing for kills, but it's no substitute for the co-op everyone wanted. Ghostbusters was almost the game we've spent 20 years waiting for, but it isn't. The gameplay is just about there, the presentation is spot on, and the script has plenty of laugh-out-loud moments, but the lack of cooperative play seems downright wrong. The game is, however, the Ghostbusters movie we've waited this long for, and it will likely be closer to the original films than the mysterious and oft-delayed Ghostbusters 3. Though its faults are apparent, Ghostbusters the video game is still absolutely worth playing for fans of the films, and is filled with enough content to likely win over shooter fans simply looking for something different. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out the full text review on Gamervision.com.